the practice of making whole art equates with beauty because of the different elements that we employ to create a piece of work that reflects our whole selves, and that each aspect holds a piece of beauty in it. Hey everyone, welcome to Whole Artist Mastery. I'm Marianne Mitchell. So this video is an edited version of a Wham Wednesday conversation where the subject is how can making whole art contribute to taking back beauty in the art world and in the world at large. So I invite you to listen, ponder, and share your thoughts about beauty in the comments below. If you're interested in attending Wham Wednesday, which is a free conversation that I offer monthly at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, you can sign up for the Whole Artist Mastery mailing list by going to wholeartistmastery.com, subscribing, and you will get your free introductory guide to what Whole Artist Mastery is all about, and the philosophy, the outline of the 4 phases, which I talk about in this video, and a lot more. So I also want to just take a moment to tell you how much joy it gives me to share my very hard-earned knowledge gained over the years of being a professional artist to help you become the artist that you really want to be. So if you like what you see, you can help the Whole Artist Mastery YouTube channel grow by liking this video and subscribing to the channel. Thanks so much. Constitutes beauty. And I think that each one of us, if we had to answer that question immediately right now, we would come up with, all of us, a slightly different or vastly different description of what beauty means to each one of us. So what I'm doing here first is sharing with you my perspective on what beauty is, and how I see it showing up in humanity in the world. As I've been thinking about it, really starts for me in a sensory existence, or at least for myself. When I think about every time I think something's beautiful, it's always tied originally to a sensory experience, to sound, touch, sight, smell, and taste. Now, rarely do we say that tasting a fabulous piece of chocolate cake is a beautiful experience, but I'm sure some people do. Some of you may dislike chocolate. I happen to love chocolate, but so for me, eating chocolate's a beautiful experience. The experience of being in a beautiful place, it usually is rooted in all of those sensory experiences, as opposed to just one or something other than a sensory experience. So the sensory experience then leads to, I think, a feeling. It has to do with this wholeness of how the sensory world then ignites an emotional reaction or expression, which then we become intellectually aware of, and we have a physical response. So what I'm really talking about is a layering of experiences that round out to a sense of wholeness. So when we think about the world of celebrity, we think of people who are pretty people. That's, I think, a one-level experience, as opposed to this wholeness of beauty. And therefore, that's a veneer. that's, one piece of the wholeness of beauty. And it's usually in this sense only tied to visual. So as I'm thinking about this, is it important to have all of your senses activated in order to be able to say something's beautiful? That I would love to hear your comments about. And then I started thinking about how, well, I was reading about somebody remarking on what a beautiful soul is. And so obviously we're unable to see a soul. But why do people say somebody has a beautiful soul? And when you say that, what comes to mind? In the description that I was reading about, there was a tie to light, a shaft of light, that a beautiful soul is lit from within. Well, that's a sight. That's a sensory experience of sight. You can feel light, I suppose, if there's a warmth attached to that light. But typically, light is something that we see. And so there again, the experience of a beautiful soul is tied to a sensory experience or a sensory foundation. As I talk about all this, I just have to say that, there are a lot of thoughts that are going around in my mind, and currently it's anything but a beautiful experience because it's very scattered. So that leads me to say that I think part of what constitutes beauty is a certain symmetry, a certain ability or a certain way of things coming together that have this sense of wholeness, that resonate with you. And because my thoughts are having trouble doing that, it's falling short of that beautiful experience. I'm sure some of you know what I'm talking about. In thinking about where all this leads, I believe that when you create a piece of artwork that speaks to our emotional feelings and engages our intellectual understanding of what's going on in the painting or any really work of art through the physicality of the medium, of the chosen medium, that there's this full integration of intellectual, emotional, and physical that mirrors who we are as human beings. And so if you then equate beauty with a sense of wholeness, then you can say that by creating art that has that sense of wholeness, that we are kindling the act of beauty in our making process. And that through doing the making of something that's whole, we are working against fracturedness or working against the singular layer of experience, working against something that's just pretty, working against something that is just surface. And so this may tie to the art world in the sense that I think the art world is focused on one layer of expression, which right now is much more intellectually driven, politically driven. I asked people if you wanted to share your thoughts prior to today's conversation to do so. And so somebody who is working with me who lives in Berlin in Germany
shared this particular comment, and I'd like to read it to you. I always had a longing to be able to convey a sense of beauty, particularly divine feminine or eternal beauty, made visible somehow in my paintings with flowers. The more this outer world seems to fall apart, the stronger my desire to focus on that beauty. But I feel often insecure about a goal like that, as many artists in Berlin I'm connected to feel it is trivial to paint with that intention. They believe art should be disruptive, political, painting towards political and social problems. And I know this is not for me. So to get support in aspects of beauty without moving into kitsch is something I strive for. I think the last line is really interesting because she's speaking about, wanting to create beauty without moving into kitsch. And that's something that she strives for. So what my mind goes to, well, kitsch equates with that one layer, that surface, where there's no heft there behind the kitsch. Kitsch is, cartoonish kind of. And, some people might challenge that a cartoon is beautiful. I've had conversations with people who believe that every aspect of everything possesses beauty. Well, how can I argue with that? Because I think trying to define beauty is about as difficult as trying to define what constitutes a work of art. So again, I'm sharing my particular aspect or my particular lens on what beauty is and how making whole art leads you to creating something that's beautiful. And so through the 4 phases of making art, we pull together these 4 elements: authenticity, kindness, balance, and completion. And I'll share how they tie to the 4 phases in a minute. But authenticity, kindness, balance, and completion are all words over the course of time that I have read tied to something that's beautiful, something that's complete, has a symmetry about it. Symmetry equals beauty. Something that has balance has a wholeness about it. Wholeness equates with beauty. Kindness is rooted in love, and love is often equated with beauty. And authenticity or truth is beauty. So all 4 of those elements you can tie to explaining beautiful, what's beautiful. Now, how do those 4 elements connect with the 4 phases of making art? Well, the first one, authenticity, ties with phase 1, which is reckless abandon. So in reckless abandon, we let go of, ostensibly, we strive to let go of our judgments, our critical thinking, our assumptions, our busy mind, and we just let it out. And what comes out is truly an authentic expression that is rooted in our foundation of who we are. And so often the continuous line drawing experience where when I do this with people, I have an element or a set of drawings that you do with your eyes closed and drawing each sense, so that you get this experience of letting go of needing to control and just letting it flow out. That's what reckless abandonment is. And there's an authenticity, a truth that comes out in that reckless abandon expression of who you are. Some people are afraid of it. Some people love it. The second phase is what I call critical analysis. Okay, so you come out of that outpouring of authentic expression, and your mind naturally goes to, okay, let me look at what I have here. So how is kindness equated to the second phase? Because there is an intellectual element to the second phase, except the intellectual element only works when you look at your work with a completely non-judgmental frame of mind. And the only way to look at your work with a completely non-judgmental frame of mind is to hold kindness for yourself. So what I mean by that is you want to look at your work with a critically analyzing eye. What do I like? What do I dislike? What needs to change? What do I want to keep? What do I want to get rid of? As opposed to, well, this sucks. I don't know where to go from here. I have no talent. I'm going to give up right now. That's judgmental. What I just said in the second set of words is completely without kindness for myself. The first set of words, what do I like? What do I dislike? Comes out of a respect and kindness for myself. The third phase I equate with balance, and what I call the third phase is integration. So in that phase, which is the longest of all of the phases, we go through this dance between trying to figure out intellectually through our compositional structure what we want to have happen in the painting without losing our intuitive connection to the painting. So there's that balance, that dance that goes back and forth between thinking and feeling and thinking and feeling. There's a symmetry there. And then the last phase I call resolution, but that could easily be replaced with completion. So completion, there's this sense of wholeness in something that's complete. There's a sense of wholeness in something that's balanced. You get there through kindness and authenticity coming together. So that's how the practice of making whole art equates with beauty, because of the different elements that we employ to create a piece of work that reflects our whole selves, and that each aspect holds a piece of beauty in it. I have a strong belief that what we do as artists, particularly in this way of making work that we strive to be whole, that by doing that as artists, we are offering that to the world. And ideally, if our work, or when our work comes to that completion where it has all of those aspects, that those who see it absolutely see it without even knowing that, or how it all came about. And so the way you know somebody gets that wholeness is when you receive this comment. I don't know why I like this, but I just do.